So let's talk about. We talked about the training. We talked about kind of the whys and the what. Let's finish off with talking about the gray, because there is gray within using firearms for emergency manager. It's not all pros. You want to protect yourself. We get that. However, like that first 72 on you concept, there's a lot of organizations and general public who look at emergency managers and say, okay, I hear emergency. That means you're the law enforcement guy and you're the fire guy. Like you're going to go over to the fire hose and turn it on, right? There's a fire. Or if there's an active shooter, you're going to go over there and you're going to kill the guy, right? Clearly that's a misnomer, or that's a little off there. As a guy who's a veteran who implemented, not just the defense side of it, but saying, okay, I'm gonna repel threats. You have a ton of experience in training. For the other emergency managers out there, guys who went to college for it, who never dealt with an active assailant, what do you say to them, and what do you think the organizations should do? What are the pros and cons there for having firearms for emergency managers?
Wow, man, that's a loaded question, man.
Boom. Sorry.
So I really, I think there's good and bad in it, right? It has its place and its benefits. But I also think it could do more harm than good if there's not strict guidance and training requirements and a bunch of other fail safes in there, to the point to where if the emergency manager has to draw, present, attack the threat, so on and so forth, then we might have missed some things prior to that, right? So but if it gets to that point, right, so to your question, us having to use them, then I think I don't see anything wrong with an emergency manager being trained as a auxiliary piece to a law enforcement or protection asset to do that. But I don't think the emergency manager can serve his or her role as managing the incident if you're in the middle of whatever that incident is, right? Like, you can't be in two places at one time. I'd love to get behind a gun and clear wall corners and doors and do all those cool things with
diamond formation.
With my LE counterparts. But if I'm doing that, then who's the one, like we talked about earlier, being the plug, letting them know, hey, we have this local asset coming to help. They're going to come in through this doorway and they're going to meet you on this. Like, who's doing that? Who's coordinating and managing? You can't do both. So I say if you're going to do it, it's cool to have it as a backup. Let's just say worst case scenario, your agency is attacked by like 50, like Red Dawn or something, right? Like you're attacked by a whole
North
army.
Korea. Yeah.
Right. Like there's no other option. Like you're not managing, you're just trying to survive right now. So then, maybe then. But I think trying to manage and participate, it's going to be kind of difficult. Not saying it can't be done. I don't know, maybe if you have a team of emergency managers or emergency management section where, like we have a section where we can say, hey, you other individuals are going to do this. Will you go bounce and you go connect with law enforcement and you fill in wherever they need you, whatever type thing. So it's all situation dependent, but I think it would be cool to at least have that training.
I think you're onto it right there. That's why we have security staff. Like you train a staff to be able to do that tactical level response. Emergency manager is served best by having the strategic level response. My personal opinion, I've asked a lot of people, actually. I've asked you now twice, kind of differently both times.
Did my answer change? Did my answer kind of?
Well, I asked you different questions, but
just
around
gotta be
the same
consistent,
topic.
right? Like you gotta be consistent.
No, well, your answer hasn't changed. I asked different questions within the same topic, and I've asked like humanitarians. I've asked a USAR. We had a USAR expert on here. Asked military vets, all kinds of deal. Firefighters. I've asked a lot of people on the show their question. I've kind of held back on my. Yeah.
Real quick, you can't just say USAR and let that go across. Like we know what it means, but some people don't. But the point is, you also have to let your listeners know that we did USAR training in London.
That's right, we did, and I brought that up. So that's a double-edged sword. I've had a USAR guy on here twice. So if you don't know what USAR is, you suck. But if you're new and you don't
That's
know
not
what
what it
USAR
stands
is,
for, though.
you're fine. Yeah, urban urban search and rescue, and it's different from search and rescue. They have different functions. Basically, one's within a collapsed city environment, and the other one's looking for whether it's cadaver or a persons of interest. So, but yeah, Jack and I in the Fire Service College in England did some urban search and rescue training. I learned that I don't like confined spaces. And I also learned that our very big firefighter buddies in the program should not be doing it, but they were doing it. So,
Those are good times, man.
Yeah. So here's my personal opinion on it. Like I said, I've held back for a while. My personal opinion is you're a target by putting an agency on your chest. As soon as you wear something, you're a target. You're also a target because it's like saying you work at the CIA. You could be an accountant. You could be, doing maintenance, but saying you work at the CIA, that puts you as a target. So, like, my thought process is you want the training and you need the training because at the end of the day, our level of situational awareness has to be raised because of our field.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that you're least effective by responding yourself. At the same time, if a guy's going to come into my office building, I'm not going to wait for law enforcement to get there. If there's immediate threat to my life, I'm going to take care of that threat, and you better believe I'm going to take care of that threat. So, and that's based off of the training I've received, right? Like, but like, there's a whole level there. There's a whole level of incident management, and my thought process there is, once law enforcement arrive on the scene, and you're the guy in a flannel shirt holding the bad guy's gun, they're going to shoot you. You know, you don't want to be holding the gun when law enforcement comes barreling through, and their level of anxiety is through the roof, and most of them don't have extreme training with this, and so they're focusing on all fibers there, and anything can be perceived as a weapon. So that's my thought process. Kind of like that, like good for personal training. Only do if it's life saving for yourself, and you can be more effective if you're coordinating with all the other agencies once they get on scene.